Finally, that took some time today here. I was all the time like going live, going live, going live, going live. Where am I? Have you seen these? Have you seen pie charts like these, 55% or 70%? And they say 55% or 70% of everything we communicate is nonverbal. Have you seen these? I always ask back, who can calculate that? Who can calculate that? This is nonsense. We don't know that. How can you analyze that? But I know one thing for sure, my friends here. And there's Alba, and there's Juan Carlos, and Joaquim Matos, Lisbon, ole, obrigado. All of you are here. There's one thing for sure that I know. When we lived on the trees, once I learned this in a moderation course, we lived in groups of 5 on trees. 5. And when we lived on trees, first we moved, and then we started to speak. And that I know for sure. Welcome to a complete session number 22, public speaking Q&A on body language. Hi, Job. Hi, Juan. Everything about body language. And now we have online. It's a new world. It's a new world. We have to have different things to have in mind when we talk about our body language, nonverbal communication. Any questions here already on body language? Let's do a lot of focus on online as well, because it's the new world. Of course, I have my limited mind map today because the body language thing I have covered well. It's not like imagination where I really have to imaginize instead of verb what to say. Alba, can you give us a tip to deal with coherence between your words and your facial expressions? It is easy to smile when telling a sad moment from the past. Let's go back to the session authenticity that we've touched once again. But then again, you know what? You also listen to Paradise City of Guns N' Roses again and again. So listen to this again. Those who don't know it yet, it's Alba. It's a very, very important triangle for me. And this is so important. And this triangle makes sure with my facial expressions, with my whole body, I am authentic and I touch your emotions more. So how do I do that? I call it the triangle of coherence. Coherence, it must match. It must be coherent. Coherente, Latin. Now, what has to be coherent always, Alba, and all the others in the group? Any form of content, any piece of content you use. Sad, happy, serious. Any piece of content used has always a direct impact on your voice and on your body language. And this is today on body language. And body language is so important, like you say in your question, Alba. And only if this is coherent, we perceive you as authentic. And only then you can touch our emotions really much more powerfully. And I always give the same example from a lady in Berlin. Years back, she said, I was 8 when my parents got divorced. You see, Alva and all the others? This is a stupid mask. This is the public speaking mask. This is like saying, stop. I don't want you to see, to feel me. And this is a mask. And if you take it away and you are coherent, you say, I was 8 when my parents got divorced. And the one tip I always give, Alba, the tip for you and for everyone, I use a nomenclature which I hate because I always want to have my nomenclature. This is Greg Valentine. Greg Valentine, a super speaker trainer from the US, world champion of public speaking, 1999, I think. And he always says, invite your audience to your reliving room. Invite them to the reliving room. And in the reliving room, when you relive stuff and you don't talk about it, but you relive it, hey, when she was 8, that was not funny. This is your real me with a time lag. Always be coherent. Show coherence when you speak with your body, especially. Yeah, I like that. I like when they say, yeah, it was really an excitement experience. I mean, this goes in all directions. I mean, it has to admit, it was an exciting experience. Oh, Harshad, hey, what is reliving? Not relieving. This is here. Reliving. You live it again. You're not an actor or an actress. You're yourself, Harshad, and you relive the moment in the past. When you tell stories, this is so important. Relive them. Today we have a Toastmasters storytelling event. Alba, are you going to join? It's from Prague, from Lucas, and it's like 400 people signing up with Zoom. And I'm one of 6 speakers today. And I will share a very, very personal thing I've never shared in my life publicly. It's one of the things in my life I have. And there I will relive. I will relive the moments, the good moments and the others. You call it memory work. In acting, or is it, where does memory work come from? And put it down. This sounds good. Memory work. Perfect. Love it. Oh, so I see you later in the talk. Body language, more questions. Since today it's going to be a Czech produced session on Zoom, I already get myself into the mood with Pilsner Urquell. What a fantastic beer. Any other question? Releasing some, no, what do you mean some emotions? It's full, it's all in. Harshad, I hope you will never meet my friend, my professional fellow speaker, Olivia Schofield. English, lives in Berlin. If you tell her it is to release some emotion, she's gonna smash you and cut you into pieces. She was once cut into pieces in a circus in Mexico. She has done everything. She worked with Tom Hanks. She's so amazing. And she always says, everything you've got, everything you've got. Full money, everything, full Monty, like the movie Full Monty, everything you've got. Facial expressions are your body in online meetings? Yeah, Joe, this is the thing. Now comes the playground. The other day I told you guys, play more with your audience. I'm getting used to this. I've been now doing 22 sessions. This is a great training camp for me too, with you guys together. But of course I play now. I do stuff like, but come on, you cannot say that. You have to try out things, apparently. And I really get into this is my new area of impact with gestures. And we get into the gestures here now. How to become comfortable reliving all our emotions. Harshad, I always say in public speaking, there ain't no shortcut. There is no shortcut. You have to do it, get feedback, get better. Do it, get feedback, get better. Do it, get feedback, get better. This is why I promote Toastmasters so much. Because Toastmasters International, my family for 15 years almost, my speaking club, this is my playground. This is my R&D department. This is where you can go. You're in a safe environment, Harshad, and then you let it out. And every time more, they tell you then in the feedback round, and next time, even more. Okay. Ooh. Carlos, would you say you have gone exaggerated with gestures with years? What is exaggeration, Juan? What is exaggeration? Again and again and again and again, I will share my safety belt. My safety belt is the bell curve. It's a horrible bell curve by Friedrich Gauss. It's the normal distribution statistic. You say, if I exaggerate with stuff. This is the perception of an audience. 2.28% on the negative side will always think you take drugs, whatever you do. And 2.28% here will think you're a genius. One. And the curve is the perception. It's the truth in an audience. So how can you say you exaggerate? A part of that curve will always perceive it as too much. And a big part will say, that's awesome. What you want always as a speaker is to communicate. Now offline here, online on stage, big stage, Kuala Lumpur, 1,300 people, Yemen, that's a big stage. I want 70 to 80% of my bell curve. If I get 70 to 80% of my bell curve, I won. You cannot please them all. I cannot exaggerate. Of course, I train them a lot. You know why I do this? You know this movement here? I don't even know why I have to move my fingers like this. It's automatic now. It's unconscious. Okay, here we go. James Basha. James, how's it going? Hi, Florian. Have watched all the videos and you're doing a great job. You're a very expressive person. How would you feel you had to give a talk sitting and not allowed to use your hands? That would be horrible. James, that would be the end of the world as we know it. That would be worse than the actual crisis we live through. If I cannot use my gestures, in our rhetoric game, there's one challenge card. It says, tell an exciting story with your hands tight at sight. And you cannot use your hands. This is for me the biggest challenge card in the whole game, man. Juan Carlos, I mean, I can see there's a difference from your early videos and now. Of course. Look at anyone. Have you seen Steve Jobs in the first interview 30 years ago? Jim Carrey, first acting? Ellen DeGeneres, she was always cool. I just watched her first performance in the Tonight Show. Wow, amazing. But we all evolve, Juan. We all evolve. And I train my gestures every day in the bathroom over there. This is a great friend you have here. This is a great friend. Jim Carrey said 1985 in an interview, my best friend is the mirror. I train every day for 15 years, every morning. When you do your teeth brushing, I do. Of course you evolve. What other techniques would you use to get a message across? Okay, today is all about body language. And now we go into the 4 ways that I use my gestures, my body, especially my gestures, to have more nonverbal impact. Do you often watch your own videos for feedback? If yes, how often, Harshad? Not really often. I am a hardcore Toastmaster and I have been a professional for almost 11 years. I participate in my training rounds as a speaker and they give me feedback. I get feedback normally every week as a speaker. I'm interested in the entire audience. I want the bell curve. I'm not interested in my opinion, which is one dot on that curve, mostly negative. When you do this and say, oh, I will never do that again, and the audience thought, it's alive. Self-perception and the other's perception, this is miles apart. So I want always the feedback of people. That's much more powerful, I believe, than my feedback, self-feedback, based on a video I see. But this is a personal approach, of course. Let's go into techniques I use to do body language. Gestures, mostly gestures. And I use an acronym. Now, this is something for the nerds here. This is something I discovered over the years to remember stuff. This is an acronym. You know what an acronym is? An acronym is an acronym. So it's a word that can be spoken like a word, and it's an abbreviation spoken as a word, like NATO or scuba diving or laser. But it is a word that already exists. That's an acronym. I think this is stronger than the acronym because it's harder to remember. This is a word that exists, very easy to remember. And this is abbreviation. Abbreviation CIA is easy, but what about TGK? Yeah, kind of memorable, but not really. Go for acronyms and acronyms if you can. And the one I use in my trainings is this one. This is an acronym. I use MISS. I use my gestures in 4 ways. Now I want you to do this at the video right now, at your homes or wherever you are at home. M. Let's start with the M of the MISS. Let's start with the first category of gestures that I use. M. Now I want you to do a gesture with your hands at home in front of the computer that replaces when you say, I had to change my perspective. Hey, Connor, we're doing an exercise today, Connor. You can do your gestures at home, Connor. Change your perspective. I want to do the gesture, change your perspective. In my case, I always use this one to change my perspective. There are others, but find yours. It always has to be your ways. The M stands for metaphorical gestures. Metaphorical gestures replace my word by gestures. You can say that they all do, but metaphorical is special. Change the perspective. And then my career went up. Metaphorical gesture. My friend Dennis and I, we are like this ever since our university days. This is a metaphorical gesture for friendship. Now, metaphorical gestures have one thing, they add meaning to your spoken word. First we moved, then we talked. That's the M, metaphorical. Now let's go to the easiest one of them all, the I. The miss. Yeah, Connor. Connor's always he jumps around in our executive MBA classes, and he has a business school in Barcelona. And then we always do. Then the people say, you need more miss." This is the beauty of giving names to patterns of behavior, because then people know what we are talking about. You can repeat them with fingers showing one. I is the easiest. I call it illustrative gestures. Illustration. You can do anything. I want you now to do with your gestures at home. Open an egg. Open a beer bottle. Change your rear view mirror up here. Steer a wheel. Eat spaghetti. Lift up the handbrake. Turn a page in a book. Write something on a computer keyboard. Do you see you can illustrate anything? Anything. Anything. Do you get it? You can illustrate anything. You can illustrate anything with your gestures. Illustration is the easiest. And here's a real case, and I love this one because it's a real case. I go back a little, I will stand up. The guy says this. And then I moved to, he did Angela Merkel. This is Angela Merkel gestures we don't do. I moved to Buenos Aires, and I lived in Buenos Aires for 3 years, and I really fell in love with tango. Dude, man, one step. You don't have to do 5 minutes and 30 seconds. La, 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 la. But one step with your body language to support your spoken word, to break the pattern of monotony. Come on, guys. Illustration is easy. People do it at the Nespresso coffee machines, but when they're on stage in front of people, they do Angela Merkel and they talk about their love for tango. It is Gaga, Lady Gaga. Okay, the next one. It's a bit more complicated, but the S is a special form of the metaphorical gesture. I call it the symbolic gestures. Now, there are very strong symbolic gestures. This is love and friendship from Turkey to Toronto. And this is Winston Churchill after the Brexit. No, this is Winston Churchill, victory. Guten Morgen, Maria. Hi to Brazil. And this is, of course, super. And this is okay. Don't do that in Turkey. Don't do that in Turkey. Just a second, Alba. Don't do that in Turkey. It means something very, very different. But in the rest of the world, it's okay. Like in diving, symbolic gestures. There are not many, but they're very, very internationally known, very strong gestures. And then Connor always shows gestures in our executive MBA classes. This is, for instance, cutting the wood. How do you say, Connor? Cutting the wood with 2 hands. And I use this one here, stop. I do no way. Counting with fingers, 3. I use my German way, Inglorious Bastards, be careful, but it doesn't matter. Do it your way, be authentic, do it your way. Emphasis, exactly. And this is what emphasis gets with your gestures is what I call signaling gestures. You make strong signals like this is what I do. Metaphorical gestures, you replace your word by gestures. Illustrative, you paint, you draw your stuff with your gestures. Symbolic, very strong international gestures, and signaling gestures that emphasize what you have. This is basta, yeah, exactly, Connor. Basta, my experience, what it means. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for you? You see, I can do that with online, and I love it. I really love it now. I have found my new haven. Look, this looks so cool. It's this 3D effect. Oh, I'm going to use it so much, man. And I'm going to pluck all these opportunities and I'm going to eat them. More questions. Yeah, here we go back to Alba. You said, can we apply here less is more when illustrating our words? Can you be precise? What do you mean? Less is more? You see, I have a gesture for anything. Why don't we do this? Give me gestures and I show you how I would do it spontaneously. Whenever you have in one word a gesture you want to see, throw in gestures that I could do here with body language, and I will do that. Hi, Raino Toika. How's it going? Raino Toika sounds that could be Finnish. Is it Finnish? Don't want to be wrong here. Yeah, so this is your new way. Online is amazing. Staging, we had, by the way, we had another session on the whole thing about using the stage. I kind of do the same here now with my hand gestures. On stage, normally, this, for me, the stage, is much more than just the place to speak. Ah, love is in the air. Nice. Yeah, a bit less challenging, please. Gesture 4, that's the most stupid thing I've heard. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Sometimes I just emphasize the meaning. It doesn't have to replace. Why do I do this? When I say replace, why do I have to do this? You see, you do these gestures automatically. Of course, I trained them for 15 years, but you do this. Why do I have to do this now? I'm innocent. I mean, if we make gestures for everything, wouldn't be too much. Alba, I constantly get feedback in my trainings when I participate in the speeches. I have received so much feedback that I could use a little bit less gestures. But then again, Alba, it's the bell curve. Out of 8 people, 2 people think I could use less gestures, and the other 6 said, but I like it. Welcome to your new freedom, all of you here in the call. It's your new freedom. The bell curve is your freedom because you can do your own thing. What you do, as you know, Alba, you do stuff, you get feedback like at Toastmasters or in the executive MBA programs or in trainings around the world, and then you nurture your own style. Why do I have to nurture your own style? Why do I have to move my head and my hand exactly in the right moment with the emphasis? I have no fucking idea. This is all. Hey, guys, do you know the 4 steps of learning? Connor, you know the 4 steps of learning? That was an assumption. Never assume. I want to break free. That's easy. Or the chain. Do you know the 4 steps of learning? That's something I love too. It's so funny. Whatever you learn in life, and now many of us, I am here too, learning is, you know, the 4 steps of learning, of course, is the same thing. I have to get used to this. Once again, I have to learn something new. How to communicate with more charisma online. Yeah, the 4 I's of learning. Well, I refer to this consciousness competence. So in the first step, you are incompetent and unconscious. You do not know that you are shit. That's Wonderland. That's cool. Then the second one is worse because you're incompetent, but it's conscious. So, oh, damn it, I am shit. This hurts. This is the phase that really hurts. Then comes the third phase. You are, and this is what happens a lot in our Toastmasters world. This is what, Alba, happens a lot with when you overdo it, everything you overdo it. But is it overdoing it now or not? Bell curve. But that is the phase when in Toastmasters, for instance, people overdo it. This is, you are competent, but consciously. Then they do these dialogues. And my mom said, but mom, why don't you do this? But mom, yeah, but it is like this. No, this is exactly the third one. And then once you enter heaven, you're competent and it's unconscious. You do not remember how it was. I was in Berlin, 450 people, first hour of an event, Toastmasters conference, Northwest, Northeastern Europe. And afterwards at the bar, I was bigger than life, my friends. I was bigger than life. And I thought this time I totally overdid it. And then at the bar, somebody tells me, Florian, how can you be so natural on stage? And I'm like, what? 15 years of investing, people say I'm in the fourth phase. It's a beautiful phase, but you have to work hard to get there. You have to be Connor, a buffalo. Look at Connor's symbol in the chat. He's been sharing this story for more than a decade. Buffalo and the cow. Yeah, you have to be a buffalo if you want to get to the fourth phase. Any more question? Describe third step. Well, this is the overdoing it. Then you have to take back a little bit. You have to find your own style in speaking. I can only talk about speaking communication. Use the feedback. For instance, emotional transparency, for instance, I increased a lot after this third phase. I mean, it's just not natural. I share everything. I'm totally transparent when it supports the message. This is something I always acted out a little bit more, came across more as an actor sometimes. It is a difficult phase, and you normally don't know that you're stuck in there. Any more questions on body language? Today is all about body language. Body language is amazing. Let me put here, emotions are dangerous. Oh, Maria Luisa, you're from Brazil and you say emotions are dangerous? Hey, that's a paradox. If we release our emotional feelings, some elephants can cross over us. Even freedom has its limits. Maria, I totally disagree. I have 10,938 speeches in my back, which is group evaluated with an average of eight people. It means it's not my perception, it's feedback by all people. For almost 11 years, anytime, every time somebody shared emotions, vulnerability, openness, totally transparent, and I heard really tough stuff. Stephen King would be happy. It's always been at the plus feedback side. I realized emotion transparent can never be negative or constructive. It is impossible. And people all the time run through life with stop signs. I'm not going to be emotionally transparent because the elephant is going to cross over me. This is bullocks because you've never done it and you just walk through life and think this is the way. But, of course, as we say as speakers, it must support your message. We had a big session on message. If your emotion transparency does not support your message, it is show. And people know that. Lancelot, hello Florian, any good books recommend about body language? Well, I have a new one. I will never do advertising on here on this channel, and there will be no advertising for my new book, 102 Visual Tips for More Simplicity in Public Speaking, but it is available, and there is, of course, all visualizations with infographics, a lot of emphasis on body language as well. In general, not really. I don't know. I learn by doing. I don't read how to move my hands. I want to move my hands, get feedback, and then get better. This is what I do. Is there anything, Harshad, that triggers certain emotional expressions through body language? I just said it before, Harshad. If you enter your reliving room and you relive your downhills, your super emotional moments, Alvaro in my hand, or when my ex-wife said in the street and I'm on the telephone, todos tenemos que sufrir por tu puto sueño. This is reliving room. This is not acting. You will always be exactly in the right emotional state because it's you, Harshad, doing the same thing a bit later. There is no, and your body goes along with it. You cannot train your body there. My body goes automatically with the flow when I go back into my reliving rooms. This is it. It is automatic. It is like magic. Yeah, the staging thing, I really want to repeat this one more time, because here now we have a difference. I use this now with my hands. I use this here. So this is, I use my gesture, my stage movement in 3 ways. Stage movements, I move in 3 ways: structural, geographic, timeline. Structural, geographic, timeline. And it's always, of course, from the perspective of the audience. It's mirrored. I'm from Western Europe. I'm not from Kuwait. So I use from left to right. Be attentive when you're in an Arabic speaking country, from right to left. It's exactly the other way around. But in my world where I work normally in Europe, it's from left to right. So take this. You have here the screen now. You can have the same impact effect on screen that you would have on stage. Structural movements, different position, different paragraph, different position. There's one aspect we really have to have in mind. But there's a second aspect I really want to focus on today. And then we have a third aspect that is the most important one. You see, now I use my hands to do structural movements on stage. It's the screen stage, it's a new stage. Alba, how can you go easily to a reliving room? Nike, just do it. I always say public speaking is great therapy. Yeah? You don't need a therapist. This is amazing. I was doing a training once in the Bayern Munich, the football club Bayern Munich, in the Allianz Arena, in one of the VIP lounges in the stadium. And that was a special training because everyone signed up individually and they paid themselves. So here we are, I'm the trainer in this thing, and I always use this sentence when it's emotional speeches. I always say at one point, you see, guys, this is therapy for free. Because I normally work in companies and then they don't realize that it's also cost, but they don't touch them. And these guys, 11 guys, well, it's not so free. Huh? It's not so free. It is therapy. Yes, I see a therapist every hairshot. You see, this is emotional transparency already. You're learning it already. You're applying it right now. Great communication. Speak more in public and share your inner self. I think your therapist will be out of work. I am Brazilian because I was born here, says Maria Luisa, but all my ancestors are from Europe. Here we have a small group, unfortunately small, that is not so emotional. I've learned not to be. Emotions are private. Are you in a speakers club, Maria? Well, you could go Toastmasters. I always make advertising for Toastmasters because it changed my life completely. I turned my passion into profession. It is amazing. And there you will just be more human, because how can you not be emotional? And your body, your voice, this is about body language. This is all transmitting emotions. Don't cut it off. Don't use the stop sign. Well, you can, but then you have less charisma on screen or on stage. As easy as that. If you don't share emotions, how you really feel, what you're not proud of in life, how you fucked up, what you really envy sometimes. And I behaved like a jerk. You know, when you never do that, you're still cool. You will still be cool. But the other one is charisma. So this was one movement. I used structural. Then the other one, geography. Imagine this is a world map here. This is a world map from your point of view. This is the world map. Now, if this is Barcelona, now here would be Washington, D.C., and this would be Singapore. And then you can say, and then I moved to Washington, D.C., where my aunt lives, and she's in Washington, D.C. So now they have a holographic map in their mind on the screen, which is quite freaking cool. And the last one, geography, always depends on where you are. Of course, now with global calls, this geography thing gets a little bit tricky. But the third one always works, timeline. Present in the middle, past on your right side, on their left side, future here. And then you say, I remember when I was 8 years old. But the future, what will it bring us? I don't know, but we are on the way. So you can use gestures to replace your screen somehow, your stage somehow on the screen. And oh, we're already 35. I didn't look at the watch, my friends, and it's already 35 minutes. How can that be? Is there a final question? If not, for me, the most important thing in this session, body language, is this miss. This is for me the biggest thing. Use your gestures with more impact, with purpose, offline or online on the screen. Metaphorical gestures change the perspective. Illustrative gestures, the espresso this morning. Symbolic gestures, this is love. And signaling gestures, like Connor has more emphasis, like cutting the wood, like, but don't do the Donald all the time, huh? Or this makes me nervous what the Donald does, but in general, it is metaphorical, illustrative, symbolic, signaling gesture, and you will have much more impact with your nonverbal communication. I don't know who came up with those weird pie charts that say 55% of everything we communicate is nonverbal. I think you cannot calculate that, but I know that we first lived on the trees, first moving, then we started to speak. Speak much more with your body, and you will have more charisma on stage. It's been a great pleasure today. One more time, thank you for joining today. Tomorrow, we will do a special on workshops. I am a great fan. Yeah, now I was just reading. Awesome, guys. Awesome, guys. This is the part I'm going to cut out. No, you cannot cut out, all right, Connor? This is live. Doesn't matter. No, tomorrow we do workshops. I'm a great fan of workshop elements, and in these Zoom session, in the Teams, Microsoft, Chimes, Amazon, in these online meetings, we need a lot of workshop elements, offline and online. Tomorrow, everything, ideas, creativity on workshops. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Hasta la vista.